Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
Christine Broderick Emmanuel is from a family of 9 children born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She's lived in Pensacola now for over 20 years. She earned her bachelor's degree in social work from St. Mary's College, Notre Dame, Indiana, and her master's degree in business administration and finance from Florida State University in Tallahassee. During her 33-year career in the commercial banking and mortgage industry, Christy won statewide and national competitions for her technical writing and journalistic excellence. Her work has appeared in local, regional, and national publications. After Christy retired, she continued her love for writing and also edited various writings for other authors. Unknown to Christy at the time, she had a long-lost relative who was searching for a suitable heir to a treasure trove of family history and had hired a private investigator who found Christy through some of the work she had done through various publications. When Christy received this treasure trove of Westcott family lore, she began writing. The book is entitled The Westcott Story. The information spans 790 years, from 1234 to present day. Very few people can trace their roots back that far. The Westcott story isn't only about Christy's family. The book is filled with historical facts from immigration to colonization, from armed conflict to industrialization, and artistic expression with deep insights into the lives, struggles, and triumphs of life through the ages. Hi, I'm Pueschel Schneier, executive producer and manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. Our guest on today's show is Christine Broderick Emmanuel, author of The Westcott Story. So Christy, it's great to have you on the show. Finally, we've spoken on the phone and emailed each other back and forth many times. It's finally nice to meet you in person.
Likewise.
So please introduce yourself.
Well, I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am the 7th of 9 children, raised in an Irish Catholic family. I always identified as Scots-Irish based on my grandfather's lineages. And I, with that Irish Catholic background, ended up going to St. Mary's of Notre Dame, where my parents and all five of my brothers, one of 3 sisters, and I all attended. So we have deep roots, and very much before writing my family story, the Westcott story was very focused on the Irish side. I went to Florida State University to get my master's, my MBA, and spent 33 years in the corporate administration space and commercial banking and mortgage information technology. I retired 9 years ago. And we moved back to Pensacola for my husband, who was born and raised here, and he'd been gone 30 years. So we've been here since 2005. Since retiring, I have been involved in so many writing projects that ultimately led to my book, which we'll be talking about today.
So I can't wait. Can't wait to dig in. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion or begin our discussion with Christine Broderick Emmanuel, author of The Westcott Story. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Thank you for tuning into the Thornton Review. We're going to begin our discussion with Christine Broderick Emmanuel, author of the Westcott story. So, Christy, it is a very intriguing story how you came to write this book, the Westcott story. So you were in the banking industry for 33 years, and during that time you were writing. You were already an author, so you're already an established author. You're known. You have publications nationwide. You've won contests. You co-authored with other authors, and you edited other authors' books. So you're an established author. Then you, from out of nowhere, your mother has this long-lost cousin who has this treasure trove of Westcott family lore, hired a private investigator, and found you through your publications and your writing. So what better person to give this to? It's just so weird how things just happen.
They sure do. It's just pretty amazing.
It really is.
Clarify a couple things. I was 33 years in commercial banking, and more than half of it in mortgage information technology, not altogether banking. And I did writing throughout my corporate career. In terms of being an author, this is my first book as an author. I wrote that was published. I've contributed to books, a number of them in the past, so I just wanted to clarify that point.
Thank you. But you are an established writer.
Absolutely.
And you have won
Awards
local awards and
yeah,
statewide, nationwide awards for your writing. I guess that's why I thought that you were already an established author, but you are kind of an author's assistant. But you're a fabulous writer. Like, you're talented, you're gifted, and you take information and you make it into a very intriguing story.
Well, thank you. So once I retired, I had the opportunity to work with Britt Landrum, the founder of Landrum Staffing. HR.
Everybody from Pensacola is going to know that name.
They sure are. And he was, I had dabbled in retirement in oral history writing, and a mutual friend noticed my interest in writing and said that Mr. Landrum was trying to get a book off the ground, and it was his the history, a memoir basically, of his company. So we met, and he said, okay, I would like to work with you, and I said, I would love to work with you. So I became his editor. He did all of the writing, of course, and he published in August of 2020 the Landrum, the history of his company. It's called Working a Better Way, the 50-year history of Landrum HR. No sooner did Mr. Landrum publish his book in August of 2020 that I received a phone call later that month from a woman named Susie Newcomb. She was from Walnut Creek, California. Never heard of this person before.
Just out of the blue.
Out of the blue. And she told me that her husband and my mother, both deceased, were first cousins, that their mothers were sisters. And she was in search of someone who would, she was enthralled by her husband's family, and she had so much material, ancestral records on him. Her children weren't so interested, and a lot of people frankly aren't so interested in genealogy. She hired a private investigator, found my brother Dennis in Cincinnati, who referred her to me because of my natural inclination to write and to document everything that's related to family. So that's what started this journey, and I consider it absolute divine providence that this woman found me. It was the perfect timing.
I was thinking
the
that
throes
also.
of COVID-19. What else to do but to immerse yourself in what transpired? I said, sure, I will take ownership of these materials and do my best to safeguard them. and 4 boxes literally arrived at my doorstep.
Like
in
big
their
boxes?
Pretty darn big.
And heavy, I'm sure, if they were books.
Oh yeah, they were books. They were letters and photographs from the 1800s that she had preserved in acid-free paper. They were journals. There was poetry, diaries, death records. The list went on. And what was most significant in my view about what I found in these boxes were 4 books that had been written by family historians about the Westcotts previously. They had been,
when were those books written?
They were published in 1886.
Wow.
1907, 1932.
So you come from a
1991.
writer's family. It's in your genes.
I discovered a lot of writers in my family. I sure did.
Wow,
Yeah,
neat.
which was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So I had to wade through, what am I going to do with this? I figured I had 3 choices. One was to go through them, of course, and then store them. I could digitize them and benefit to my family, or I could start writing. And having just come on the heels of editing for Mr. Landrum and thoroughly enjoyed that experience, I said, let me just start writing.
Right.
And write
So
again.
that wasn't part of the plan. They just wanted somebody to safeguard it
Correct.
and
That's
someone
correct.
who would, treasure it and
Sure.
preserve it.
Sure.
They didn't think that you're going to write a book.
No, but Susie Newcomb, she really appreciated the historical significance of this family, and her enthusiasm was absolutely contagious. And she had gone on a couple of trips from the West Coast to the East Coast for her young grandchildren to learn from whence they came.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
That's important to me.
It
I
is
think that's
important.
important to know your family history.
It is. It is. And what was so interesting about writing this, well, there were 3 things I think that were my objectives once I said, okay, just start writing. 1, approach it generationally without knowing how many generations there were. 2, really significantly, to weave history into the thread from page 1. A lot was based on Susie Newcomb's inspiration. And 3 was to write well. It was as important to me to make sure that I wrote well as to actually tell the stories.
Right.
So that's how it got started. And one thing that was in that box, by the way, Pueschel, was a pedigree chart. And this pedigree chart was maybe 9 sheets of 8.5 by 10 paper, or is it 11? 8.5 by 11. And they were taped together and pulled it out like an accordion. And there were names. All it was names of people I knew nothing about the Westcotts before I got started. And I had to unravel this tangle of information and data in order to figure out where my line fit in. And that was step number 1 before I took it forward.
So I think it's important for people to know their history. I know my history. I've had people in my family write genealogy books, and my mom's done a little bit of researching, and I've told my son everything that I know. I had 5 great grandparents living when I was born.
Oh, wow.
So I knew some of the
Interesting.
previous generations for a few years, and there's longevity in my family. My great grandmother lived to be 101. I had another one to be 96, and others into their 80s and 90s. And so I've instilled in my son, I've told him everything that I know about the family so that he at least knows. But what would intrigue someone to read this book about your family?
Well, I would tell you that I've asked myself that question a lot. Why would anybody want to read my family story? I mean, they've got their own. And to me, the answer is the history that is woven into the Westcott's
Because it's
background.
It's history. It's American history. It's European history.
It is. I went back 22 generations to the year 1, 2, 3, 4 with the birth of my
wild.
17 times great-grandfather, John de Westcott. And there were 8 generations that I traced from him going
Is that how you pronounce it,
forward.
Westcoat?
He was Westcott.
He
There are
was
many
Westcott,
ways
okay.
to spell many surnames.
I'm like, oh
And,
my gosh, I hope I'm not.
And our
pronouncing it
family
wrong.
as well.
It is Westcott.
So he was de Westcott. and
Wow.
ultimately it turned into a Westcott.
Neat.
So there were 8 generations that lived in Devonshire, England. And they were barons, and they were knights, and they were known by so many monarchs throughout English history. So I wove in my introduction, weaves in information about European history going back to England, and I also have French and German roots that I knew nothing about. So, so there's a European history that's brought in. But I'm not aware of a book that takes America's history from colonization forward without any missteps 400 years. And I think, you know, frankly, I didn't care for history growing up. The information was rote, memorizing dates, etc. But I have context now, and these people lived American history since they came here, and I think that it's important that we understand our nation's history now, probably more than ever, and it's an opportunity for people to do that and to get an appreciation for humanity. I mean, times have been tough throughout time. You think of the persecution of Christians and the execution of witches and the ravages of wars.
And your family history and what you wrote with this book takes you all
based on
through that.
What these people have lived through. Yeah. So times are tough, but guess what? There is hope for the future because they accomplished so much and built one generation upon another to bring us where we are today. And I think we are a very privileged nation. Certainly people suffer in this country, but
people
I really,
did suffer for the
did,
founding
and
of
they
this country and
always have.
and throughout. Yes,
Yes, they sure have. So I really credit my forebears, and I have a great appreciation for what they made possible for me and for us.
Well, that's so interesting. So were your ancestors on the Mayflower? Were they Mayflower?
The first of my ancestors, actually there were 9 of them that came in the year 1630, and the first came on the Winthrop fleet, John Winthrop's fleet, that arrived in 1630. There were 11 ships. And I document, beginning in generation 1, 4 couples, all 9 times great-grandparents, including Richard Westcott, who came here. His brother Stukely Westcott had arrived in 1635, and my grandfather Richard and his brother William came a year later. They all, of course, arrived on Massachusetts shores. Those 3 brothers ended up very briefly in Salem, Massachusetts. And one ended up, Stukely ended up following Thomas Hooker, Roger Williams, and Richard and his brother William followed Thomas Hooker. So Stukely was a co-founder, if you will, of Rhode Island, and the brothers Richard and William were first settlers in Connecticut. And then from Connecticut, they
and their life stories and little bits and pieces of that just makes history. It just makes it so interesting because you learn from history.
You sure do. And early on, of course, there was getting along with Native Americans.
Wow.
But eventually that led to scarce resources and
harsh winters up north.
That's right.
That they probably weren't prepared for.
King Philip's War that ultimately was the demise of the Indians in the Northeast. And yeah, it's sad how that happened. But they were in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, and they ultimately as well migrated their way to New Jersey and New York, really Long Island more than others, and Pennsylvania, where I'm from.
So let's go back. So you were working in the banking industry and the mortgage industry, and you were dabbling in writing. So you obviously had a talent. You obviously had a love of writing because you were actually, doing it. And when you got this treasure trove of information, you didn't get it thinking, oh, I'm going to write a book.
I absolutely did not.
And that wasn't their intention when they gave it to you.
It was not.
So what was that spark, that very inspiration that said, you know something, I'm going to write a book with this information?
Well, I think that Britt Landrum, working with him for 17 months and seeing what he did, and it caused me in my editorial role, something I really never edited a book before, but I found creativity in that process. And I and
you were retired and
Mr.
you
Landrum
loved to
said,
write.
"There's a book in you." He did, and I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
And little did I know. So I don't know. I think that when I started writing, I was really doing it for my family. I wasn't doing it for anybody else. And
But then you're like, this information needs to get out.
Exactly.
People need to know about this.
Exactly. And and then that ultimately led to a book. And you know, when I started, I didn't know what form this thing was going to take. I just wanted to learn and to write as I learned. There was no outline.
It would be a good high school history book. You should go to the school district.
I think it would be better. I think maybe the readership might be a little more mature.
Okay.
And
because it is actual
but what
events.
I would love to see happen, I think it should be in college courses, American Studies. If somebody were to read a 2-volume, well, it ended up being 2-volume, but that's another story we can talk about later. But I think that it just gives context. And, you know, when I think about historians, and I think in the academic world, people tend to be focused on a specific tangent of history. And their focus is specialized, but it doesn't have that broad swath that covers the whole thing. And it would be a good way to get some background and orientation and then dive in wherever your interest lies.
Is all of the information that you got from those 4 boxes of books, or did you do research elsewhere?
I definitely did research elsewhere. When it came to more recent history, I contacted family, cousins, to understand something about our grandparents and their parents, my mom's brother and sister, who are descendants of Westcotts as well. I Googled like crazy. Of course, when we started this, nobody really was leaving their homes because of COVID. So my Google searches, you know, it was amazing how much continues to be written about these people. 300, 200 years later, these people were just amazing. So unfortunately, I didn't go to the Genealogical Society, West Florida, although I know it to be an absolute wonderful resource for people who are interested in genealogy. So it was really asking people, getting on the phone, calling anybody that may have written anything about my family to dig deeper, and there's just a lot on the internet that I could pick up besides what I got from my family.
Did you meet family members that you didn't know you had through this research?
Did I meet them? I met a couple of people.
Or at least have a phone conversation with them of people
yes.
you didn't really know who.
Yeah, well, Susie Newcomb, unbelievable character who ended up being my soul sister, and I met her in person
That's
2
so
years
neat.
ago. And there was another gentleman who I told you I had the pedigree chart. He was my mother's second cousin, which meant that their grandmothers were sisters in their case. And he, like me, maybe I was inspired by him. It was his retirement project in around 1990 to go to Bordeaux, France, and
I was going to ask you that next. Did you travel abroad to get any of the information?
I have not traveled at all on anything that I've learned from the book, but it's my future.
You're open to
I'm
it.
looking forward to doing a lot of traveling to really understand these
Go to
people.
these towns.
Absolutely.
Maybe find if the houses are still there.
Sure.
Wouldn't that be neat to
It
go
would be
back and
wonderful.
if the house is still there and this old cobblestone?
Well, one of my brothers, since I started writing, did go to Bordeaux, where my mother and her siblings were born and raised. And I picked out all the addresses that were referenced in the book, and he went in search. And he went in search of my great-grandfather, who's buried there, or was, and there was no record of him being buried there at this point. He may have been how do you say it? Not exhumed, but when your body is taken from one place to another.
Yeah.
And he may have ended up in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, which is where he was born and raised. And by the way, this book right here is one of the 4.
I was looking at that. That's a very big book.
I mean, it has every Westcott that ever existed in America.
In America.
From
back to
1630 and 1630s. And the index is hundreds of pages long of people. Of course, it's not all my lineage.
Sure.
It's everyone. But it was very instrumental in pulling out stories that I could incorporate into my own story, the Westcott story.
So what made you decide, of all the bits and pieces of information, I'm sure some of it isn't used because the book would be, this wide. What made you decide what bits and pieces of information to use and what not to use?
Well, to be honest with you, in my first draft, I brought it all in. And I did have an editor, and I have a husband who read it and talk about one of the challenges of writing critiques can be really painful. And as a result of his review of the original draft, I pulled out well over 50 pages. So, I tended to bring too much of history in. And it's like, let's just focus on the family, and the other to provide context in it. But I had to, there's so much information. But by bringing it all in initially, it's easier to pull it out than it is to later go and try to fill in the voids.
You maybe could make a 50-page book out with the history that you took
out.
No
doubt.
Because some people might be more interested in the history than the family lineage. Of course, the family lineage has all that history also.
Sure.
But you took out what...
I think I got the salient points, and I think that people can learn a lot from it. And I thought about what I did pull out. Is that something that would be interesting even to my family? And I think this is enough. It's enough. Yeah. It ended up being like 750 pages.
Wow.
That caused me to, and that was after pulling information out, that caused me to have to, or chose to create 2 volumes.
2 volumes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's 750 pages combined, or each volume?
It is 750 combined, give or take. And the first of the 2 volumes takes the reader from 1630, which, I'm sorry, actually, 1588 is when my 9 times great-grandfather who came to America was born.
Wow.
And so 1588, and it takes us through colonization, industrialization, the wars, ultimately through the Civil War and Reconstruction era. And it picks up in the 2nd volume, and that's the first 9 generations in America in volume 1. Volume 2 picks up with my grandparents, who are generation 10, and it ends in 2024 with my
So just after the Civil War?
I'm sorry?
Just after the Civil War, it picks up?
Yes, so it really picks up with my grandfather in World War I, and leads to World War II. There's some in Generation 12, which is mine, or 2 of my brothers were drafted. One ended up going to Vietnam. He did not, wasn't in the war component. He was on the ship. But anyway, so that's kind of how it's broken down. And you can see on the cover on volume 1 is my great-grandmother with 3 of her 4 children, who she, with her husband, my great-grandfather they were born and raised in Bordeaux, where he set up a dental practice right out of dental school. And they ultimately...
They had dentists back then?
Oh, yeah.
I'm joking, I know they did. But you hate going to the dentist now.
That's right. So he ended up being there until he died 60 years later. So they were expats. She ended up divorcing and moving back to the States. And the infant on the cover of volume 1 is the mother on the cover of volume 2. And my mother is the middle of those 3 children who were born and raised in Duluth. Actually, her sister was born during World War I in Bordeaux. And right after she was the last person born at the it was the Massachusetts General Hospital, and therefore it was American territory. She was the last person born there before they pulled out at the end of the war.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's pretty neat. So, what are some of the biggest surprises you came across going through all this information?
Oh gosh, there are so many. I mean, because it was all revelatory to me. First, to know that I could trace 22 generations really struck me. I was struck by...
Yeah, I would think the fact that it went back to 1234, that's
a long time.
Yeah,
Long
not
time.
many people can trace their lineage back that far.
Yeah.
That's 790 years.
I think that that's right. 790 years to 2024.
Mine goes back to the Mayflower.
It does. On your mother's or father's
Both.
side, or both? Is that
Both.
right? So, are you a member of the National Society of Colonial Dames?
Well, I'm a daughter of the American
Oh, you
Revolution.
are. I just completed my application for that.
I can do the Mayflower Society. I just haven't done
Gotcha.
it yet.
Yeah, yeah.
I should. I need to. I checked into it a few years ago and just never followed through because I'm just so busy with everything else. I would like to do that though.
Yes. So surprises were, evidently I was related to.
No
We're
nobility.
not related to, but I was a lineage, and my lineage, I think, was King. Oh gosh, which king was it? King Richard, and Anne, who was a duchess. My 11 times great grandfather, Louis Stukely, was related to Sir Walter Raleigh. He was actually complicit in Walter's beheading, I hate to admit. That's a story unto itself. The author of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas
Really?
is
Carol.
a relative, Clement Clark Moore.
Oh, Clement.
Clement Clark Moore. He
okay.
was a theologian and scholar.
I
who
love
wrote
that
book
story.
in
I have-
1823 for
My-
his children.
My grandfather bought that book for me when I was probably 2 years old for Christmas, and I still have it.
Do you?
And I read
Aw.
it to my son every Christmas.
that is just so
and it
great.
has the little pull-out things that make the cartoon
Sure.
Santa Claus and elves like move and the Christmas presents move.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful story. And just to think that, as I said, written in 1823, that he would have written this for his children.
Yeah.
And it wasn't known for years that he was the actual author of that poem, but it ultimately came out. Besides just so many characters, to think that my 5 times great grandfather was from New Jersey. And New Jersey during the Revolutionary War was a strategic place because it was a pretty much center among the 13 colonies. And anyway, he was on the boat with George Washington when they crossed the Delaware on approach to the Battle of Trenton.
Wow.
And don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with the iconic painting
Yes,
of Washington crossing
absolutely.
the Delaware. And evidently,
He's in it.
his grandson is portrayed either in that painting or another. His grandson of my grandfather, John Westcott, carrying the flag in that painting.
Wow.
So there are a lot of connections. I mean, I could go on and on. The things that I didn't know, surprises. One of the most, and I'll end there, is James Diamond Westcott the third. The administration building at FSU is named after him. I got my degree, master's there, and I didn't know that he was my relative.
Wow.
So that was
Well, now
really
you know.
a fun discovery
Yeah,
among
I'll
many
bet.
others.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. We're going to take a commercial break. I'd like to remind our viewers that the Thornton Review is a civic engagement show with the purpose to spread awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our viewers by interviewing local elected officials, candidates, professional leaders, and now authors. This is information you won't get anywhere else. You can watch the Thornton Review on our various outlets. Our website, thethorntonreview.com. On Vimeo, please follow The Thornton Review. On YouTube, please subscribe to The Thornton Review at The Thornton Review 7810. Please like our Facebook page, The Thornton Review Show. On TV, WBQP, channels 12.1 and 12.8, and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Christine Broderick Broderick Emmanuel, author of the Westcott story. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Welcome back to the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue our discussion with Kristen Broderick Emmanuel, author of the Westcott story. So Kristen, I love this trail that you're taking us down and explaining all of your research and your findings.
Yes.
It's all very intriguing how this happened.
Yes. Thank you.
So you received the 4 boxes. What was the first thing you pulled out?
Probably that book right there.
This big book.
It definitely stood out among others. And among other things, I was so interested, as I said, in the letters, original letters and photographs from the 1800s. I literally have a daguerreotype was in the box.
What is a daguerreotype?
That was the original, the original form of photography, and it didn't last
Wow.
long. Very, very short period of time.
So it kind of faded out a little bit, or?
Oh no, I don't think that they'll ever fade out.
Oh.
No, it's very well preserved. It's small,
Wow.
and it's a mother and her child, and unfortunately, I don't know who they are.
Well, clearly you had these photographs also.
The one on the right has been on the wall of the home I was raised in. My mother had it. It's her mother, and she with her 2 siblings. So it's been in my family on the wall for as long as I can remember, and when she passed, or frankly, I probably made a copy, and I've had one on my wall forever. So it just seemed that when it was time to come up with a cover, book cover, they say that book covers are one of the most important things about a book.
I know. Don't judge a book by the cover, but you can't help but judge a book by the cover.
I really wanted to
if you don't like the
that.
cover,
and
you
I
might not
found
be.
a outfit in Auckland, New Zealand, who did the book cover design and the interior layout of my book, and so because I did self-publish, and anyway, I thought it was going to be 1 book when I sent my manuscript off, and when it ended up being 2, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need another cover. Am I going to use the same one? And the second photograph that appears on volume 1 was in the book. So that was very fortuitous because they align so well one with the other.
Well, I like the photographs that you chose.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
obviously these photographs mean something to you very personally because you know these people.
Yes. And I like the way the fade out.
Yeah, the
kind of
background.
the phasing
really
with
neat.
it just seemed to fit with my story.
How long did it take you to write these 2?
It took me exactly 2 months to complete my first draft.
Wow.
And I'm
That's
telling
quick.
you, I lived and breathed this story.
Overtime.
It's all I did. It's all
Overtime
I did.
writing, right?
Yes,
that was your
yes,
full-time
yes.
job.
I would go to bed at night thinking about what I learned.
And then jump up and say, oh gosh, I've got to write this down before I forget it.
That's exactly what I did. Because it
I can
always
see
led
it.
to new questions, and I can't forget to incorporate this or research it. And it took another 2.5 years before I on Christmas Eve, I received proofs of the
2.5
galley.
years
And
before it was actually
that was very
complete.
exciting. And then from Christmas Eve, when I received the proofs, then to publication on January 7th.
What an
of
awesome
2025.
Christmas.
It was great. It was the best Christmas I could hope for. It
Yeah.
was really great.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm
Yeah.
happy for you.
But it was interesting that if anybody who writes a book, or anybody who writes anything, but especially a book, it's almost like paralysis. You're always editing. And
I
the
know.
moment that I sent my manuscript off to New Zealand, I knew that every edit that I made thereafter was going to cost me.
Right.
So it had
Of
to be
course,
as
yeah.
good as it could be. And of course, it came back, and not only did I find more errors, and I had to read the whole book, both volumes, multiple times to get it as clean as I possibly could, and I did. So.
Well, can you describe your process for writing? Like, do you have a specific style or routine? I think you almost kind of did explain it, whatever comes to mind.
We lived at Innerarity Point on the Intercoastal. It was beautiful, peaceful. There was nothing else to do during COVID-19 but be one with nature and be one with my story. So we had a small house. I was rarely sat at a desk. I tend to sit with my legs propped, and my pillow and my laptop is my best friend besides my husband.
Your laptop is your pen and paper?
It is, yes. So I do everything on it, everything.
Do you
I
have
read
a
on it.
notebook to write ideas
No,
when
it's
you're not
all
at your
on my
laptop?
computer. No notebooks, nothing, no pen. So that's pretty much how it happened. And I'd wake up and I hardly had interest in reading news because it was also not trying times. Anyway, so that's how it played out. Not much to it other than it just fed me each and every day.
So this 4 boxes of this awesome, valuable treasure trove of information, was it in order when you got it?
Oh gosh, no. No,
Okay,
no.
so
No.
you had to pick out the pieces like a puzzle and put them
Yes.
together, and it
Yes.
took you 2.5 months to do that.
No, it
Oh.
took 4.5 years.
Okay,
But the first rough draft was 2 years.
okay.
Yeah.
So you studied the information before you started writing. At what point did you
I
decide
really
to?
didn't, Pueschel. I just said, all right, let me. Now that I know who my grandparents are, and I know my lineage, let me take one generation at a time, and I would take
Find them.
like as I said. Generation 1 of 14, there were 4 couples who were my grandparents,
Yep.
who were part of Gen 1, and so everything that I could find about them took one couple at a time among those 4 before I then proceeded to Gen 2. I learned like a reader is learning. When they read pages, I'm learning as I'm writing. I didn't even really have an outline other than this
Right.
is the approach I was going to take. And the revelations just came one after another, one after another.
Is the information still in the same boxes that you received?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
so
sure
you
is.
actually kept the boxes.
I did.
Were they in really good condition? Are they strong, sturdy boxes? Are they nice boxes? Are they just cardboard, like liquor boxes or something?
Pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
I came up with some new boxes for at least a couple of them. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's not in the same order that you received it.
No, I mean,
You
know.
rearranged.
Correct. I did some reorganizing for sure.
Uh-huh.
So it will make it easier when it's my turn to pass this information off to the next person. And but the real treasure for me now, and I did call it, when it arrived, I called it a genealogical mother lode.
Yeah.
And given it's my maternal lineage,
Yeah.
it really quick
Yeah.
fit.
No
But
pun
my
intended.
computer and my hard drive is going to be most valuable to people, whoever tends to pick this up going forward.
Right, because there's a lot of information on that didn't make it to the book.
That's
But
true.
but then also, did you put copies of the books in those boxes
No. Mm-mm. But
just
I
to
have-
top it off?
I've done, as of yesterday, got my 20th event engagement, this being one of the 20 since I published. And I tend to pull things
Congratulations,
out depending on what the event is. And so it's not like they're just sitting there. I'm pulling things out all the time. And every time I have occasion to do an event, it causes me to make sure I've got my information right, I've got the dates right, and I'm becoming more acquainted with my family with each and every event I do. There's a closeness that I have with these people that it just amazes me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm sure you can see a lot of yourself in those people.
I can. I really can. And I mean, I'll tell you that I identified as Scots-Irish, as I said, and there was a point in time where I had a day of beauty, something that I don't do very often at all. And I had my one and only facial, and I walked into this room, and the lights were dimmed, and the music is playing softly. This woman had a British accent, and first thing she does as I lie there was cup my face in her hands, and she says, "Scot-Irish." And I'm like, how did you know?
The band structure.
How did you know?
Wow,
it was
neat.
Unbelievable. Until I discovered 5 years ago my English, French, and German ancestry. So kind of rounded it out. But there were a lot of writers in this group. There was a lot of creativity, especially with my great-grandmother, grandmother, mother, siblings. And I love that there's a big side of me that I relate to and identify with that I never had occasion to do before. So it's a real gift.
So you spoke about that you had a little bit of help along the way. Your husband helped, and then eventually you sent it to New Zealand for the final editing. Did anybody else offer to pitch in and help? They saw that you were on this mission, that you were just not that it was your goal to write a book, but you were just enthralled in the moment. It seems like that the information was just flowing out of you, and you just created a book because of your excitement over this information.
It just so happened that early on in my writing, I was on the phone with a friend that I went to St. Mary's College with, Lorraine Lordy, who had a background in writing. She wrote a column for a newspaper in New Hampshire, and she was an English professor. And I told her what I was doing, and she was very enthused and said, if you need help with the editing, I'd be happy to do that.
Great.
And so she did, and she stuck with me through the first draft of my book, and she ultimately became ill and had to pass away. So she was invaluable. 2 other people were as well. One was Tom Roberts. He is the owner of Raven Cliffs Publishing. He's a former president of Emerald Coast Writers. And I met him at Gulf Coast Arts Fest once, and he was at the Emerald Coast Writers booth. And I was 2 years into this project, and I said, I'm writing this. At some point, I'm going to need help. And 2 years later, I pulled out his card, and he ended up referring me to Damanza, the outfit in New Zealand. And he also stood up my website. And he did a great job with that, and he can help any author who's interested in doing their own, because he's written himself a book and has an IT background. And he'll help me with the self-publication part and getting it up to Amazon and Ingram Spark. And the other person who was really helpful to me was Mamie Hickson. A lot of people know Mamie. She is a professor, associate professor at UWF in writing, and she is the director of the writing lab at UWF. And I've been taking her grammar
So she's
size.
good to have around when you're writing a book.
She's good to have around. She has been, I've been there with her since day one. She started a weekly Zoom call every Monday, 7:15 a.m. called Grammar Size. And I have learned so much from her, and I'm writing and editing as I'm dialing in, and was able to apply much of what I learned in the way of the fundamentals of grammar. And as I mentioned before, it was so important that I write well. And she's been instrumental. She is a master grammarian. So But you know, I read a lot of books, and you look at the credits, and you read all the people who have contributed. And to be honest with you, not so many in my case. But we got it done. We did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, what have you been doing to promote the book? You said you've attended engagements. Do you do
Yes.
book signings?
I
Or-
do.
How can someone order the book?
It is available on Amazon.com. It's available at Bodacious Bookstore, not to be confused with Bodacious Olive. The bookstore's on Intendencia across from the Y. I am in Santa Rosa Library, West Florida Library, UWF, Pensacola State College.
Okay.
And,
So it is in
those are
college
all-
campuses.
It is. It is.
Mhm.
And just in terms of, I mean, it's become a business, and so many authors have told me the journey just begins when you publish. It's just the beginning,
Right.
and so I have found that I haven't skipped a beat. It's a business, and every day I'm out there trying to get exposure for the book, because
Right.
I believe the story is that important.
Well, I love your passion.
Thank you.
And for you to take the information, not even, you had no intentions of writing the book. You saw the information and it just came to you, it flowed naturally. Then you started seeking help because you wanted to write it correctly and grammatically correct and in a way that people would be very interested in reading it.
Yes.
So you did the work. This has been a full-time job for you.
It has. and it still
Unintentionally.
is. That's right.
You just fell into it,
Yes.
and you had a great time doing it, and you're
Yep.
still having a great time
Yeah.
because you're going to all these great engagements.
Yeah.
You're on TV,
I'm with you.
interviews.
Thank you so much. So appreciate it.
So, but you are promoting the book, and you're getting the word out, and a
Yes.
lot of people have heard about this book, and a lot of people are intrigued and interested and want this book.
Yes, yes.
So they can go to Amazon and get it.
Yeah, and you know, you just need to put yourself out there. I mean, I could
Or
sit.
Google the Westcott story. Do a Google search,
Yes.
and you can find it and
Yes, you
read
sure
about
can.
it and order
Yeah.
the book.
Yeah. And I think that it has interest to people who are interested in history, American
Absolutely.
history predominantly, people who are interested in genealogy, people who are interested in just outlandish stories.
Right, that's
and
what I'm thinking.
Every single story, everything in this book is factual to my understanding.
Yeah.
No one has come and challenged me yet.
Well, like take Little House on the Prairie, for instance. That's about a family, and who would care if it's not your family? You know, it's kind of, but so many people care about that family, and
Yes.
I'm sure there's other that I can't think of. There's others. Stories about families. There's a
Yes.
lot of stories about families that are very intriguing,
Yes.
and you do learn more than just about that family.
Sure,
You learn the
sure.
historical context around it, and just all the little antics that families go through,
Sure.
and the ups and downs, and the
Yeah.
triumphs, and the crashes.
And it's been fun to when I learn that people know about the Westcott story and how they learned about it, and it comes from each one of those engagements.
Yeah.
Early on, I think it was in March, Justice Ulrich is a student at FSU, and I happened to be there last November at homecoming, and she was interviewing people for homecoming. We were at the parade, and I was right in front of the administration building, the James Time at Westcott building, and she had her microphone and just asked
Did
a
it say
question or
Westcott
two.
on the building?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Love it.
And so I said, that's my family, and I'm writing a book, and it's called The Westcott Story. And months later, she found me on LinkedIn. And I don't know how, because I don't recall giving her information. I must have given her my name.
Sure.
And she wanted to write the story, so she did. So fast forward, just a few weeks ago, I learned that a gentleman, he is a archivist of political papers, a doctor at University of Florida. Through her article, he learned about the Westcott story, and he's been researching James Time at Westcott Jr. who a lot of politicians in Florida, we could talk about that if we had time. There's never
We'll have
enough
to do a
time.
follow-up show for sure.
We just will. But anyway, I love how people are learning about the story.
Well, I loved having you on the show. Thank you for coming on. We had a great conversation, and I learned a lot, and I'm very intrigued about the book.
Thank you.
And that big book is also very intriguing. So, well, thank you for coming on, and
Thank you so
we
much.
might just do a follow-up in the
Anytime,
next
I'd
couple
be
months.
happy to come back. Thank you, Pueschel.
Thank you, Christy. So, thank you for watching Thornton Review. The Thornton Review is on the air to provide public awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. This show was made possible by Ida Gates Godly Teas LLC, Alpha Fence Company, and our guest, Christine Broderick Emmanuel, author of The Westcott Story. We thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.